Okay, so I have some books coming out and I want to put some effort into promoting them somehow. So I thought I would make this little video as a real thing. I'll cut it into a phone thing because I just want to post a lot of stuff because my books are coming out, because if I post stuff about things, people will look at the books. And really I just want to do some due diligence for the publishers because they're investing their time and effort into these books. I want them to see that I'm doing my best. So that's what I'm doing. So I wanted to just record this on my phone and stick it straight on Instagram as a rough thing, but I can't help myself. I've produced it. I've turned my fancy light on. I've got my good camera. I'll cut it into this and that. I'll turn it into YouTube video, reel, whatever. But I've had this thing on my mind for a while because I have run a filmmaking club for many years. Many years ago, one of the members asked me a question that I never properly answered because it took me off guard. She asked me, how do you get started writing a film script or a piece of fiction or something like that? What do you do? This is what worked for me. This is how I came to making short films for practice. And it isn't how I started writing fiction, but I believe it would work for that too. Think of the last time you had a conversation with someone and something they said hit you as off, but you didn't address it at the time because you don't know why you felt strange about it. It's just a moment where perhaps your values and the values of somebody else rubbed up against one another. So this was a piece of real life conflict that you encountered, and I think it's going to be better for you if you don't even know why it bothered you until you come to write it. So I want you to recreate on the page as best you can. Let's just say it's a piece of prose. What happened? Who was there? What did they say? What did you say? And then take a look at it. What do you wish you say? Or in the process of writing it down, did you figure out what bothered you about it? What is the message you're telling to yourself? What are you trying to learn out of it? And then through learning something about it yourself, what are you trying to tell an audience about it? Why do you think that people should pay attention to this? Now that you've recreated it as best you can as per what happened, let's abstract it, because we don't want to send the world after some real world person. We want to distill it down to what your point is, and fiction is great in that you can enhance things and isolate and amplify certain aspects of reality in ways that were not so interesting or obvious in reality itself. Let's think. You were character A, character B was your friend. Is it more interesting if this was a brother and sister dynamic or a father and daughter dynamic? What choice of how these two characters are to one another amplifies the point, the message, enhances the conflict, makes the drama clearer? This happened in a cafe in real life. Is it more interesting if it happened in a restaurant in the evening? Are these people meeting for some sort of special anniversary that they have between one another? Or is it some national holiday? What country is this story taking place in and why? Is what they're saying indicative of the culture that they're in or not? Is that interesting to make choices around to enhance what you're trying to say? And perhaps what happened was this conversation happened completely by accident at the end of hour 3 of a whole bunch of rambling topics. But let's distill this scene down to the point. Where is the starting point where the message becomes clear? How do you get out of it at the earliest possible point while still maintaining what the message was? And I don't know how good this is going to turn out, but now you have like the essence of drama on the page. You have plot, setting, characterization. You've evoked the mood, the 5 senses. You've recreated as best you can for an audience the mood of what it was like to be you in that scenario. And you've dialed up the parts that were the most interesting, the most compelling. If you're feeling super ambitious, you can ask yourself what happens next. What is the next scene when they leave the cafe, the restaurant, the park, whatever? Does the character based on you go and talk to their partner about it or a family member? What does that person say? Do they have a completely different opinion from what happened? How does this change the relationship between the two characters that occurred in this scene? What will they be like when they see each other next? What will the other character do when they're off camera? The reason I think this is a good exercise is because something in the real world piqued your intuition. This is what I always want to see from writers. Something that they fundamentally care about and that they want to communicate to me. I just want to know what bothers you in your real life, because that to me is the most interesting thing. So I'm trying to get more of that out of you. I'll admit I'm biased in that respect. Then I just want you to do this like once a week for the next year. Revisit them and find out which ones were great. The first time you do this, you're going to become so obsessed with the first one You're going to be like, oh my God, this is so great. This is the best story I'm ever going to tell. I'm never leaving this one alone. And I promise you, if you say, all right, I'm going to listen to Leo, I'm going to do it a second time, you'll forget about the first one so fast. And you'll be like, oh no, wait, no, I was wrong. This second one is the most compelling one ever. And the more you do this, the more you will be compelled by whatever the hell you wrote next. And when you have enough of this, you can start to discern between them and you can choose which ones are the best. And then you can reject the ideas that were not as good as the ones that are worth your time, worth prioritizing, worth working on. Rejecting ideas is a huge part. It's the biggest part of being a writer. Most of your ideas are not going to be very good and you're not going to develop them. You should have an excess of ideas. And you will have an excess of ideas if you tell your mind that that's what you're going to do and that's what you need from it, if you're taking this seriously. If you are interested in something like speculative fiction, fantasy, science fiction, horror, you want to write stories that take place in the past, whatever, fine. I think this is great because if you start with this, then you can think, okay, if I set this in the future, why am I setting it in the future? Or what about this conflict is going to change in the future? If I set this in a fantasy world, what is possible in that world that isn't possible in this world that is essential to the story that I'm telling? If you want to create a horror out of it, like, what about this could escalate into violence or something? But by starting it from reality, then you really know why you're going into these different genres. You know, I think this is an excellent starting point. It's the best one I can think of in all the time I've spent writing. If I could go back and start writing again, I'd probably start with this process. That's why I'm telling you now. Though, of course, there are many ways to become a good writer, and I didn't even do this one when I started. I did do it when I started short films. Let's talk about what would happen if you turn this into a short film instead of a piece of prose. The big difference between a piece of prose and a low-budget short film is compromise. Let's not think about what is the best place to set this. If you're wanting to film this yourself, think instead of where you have access to and set it there. It's not the most amazing place it could be, but it is something you can do. And again, I think if you're just starting out, what you want is an accomplished thing. So let's not aim for perfection. Let's never aim for perfection, but especially not when we're starting out. Okay, you don't have access to the 5 senses in the same way you do in a piece of prose. You have dialogue, you have action, you have camera angles, you have lighting. You have these kind of things. And again, you might not even have access to the best camera lighting. Whatever, let's make something, for God's sakes. Well, look, as I say to you as somebody who has purposefully got out his best camera and lit this and composed and produced the hell out of what I'm doing instead of just doing it on my phone. So I'm very guilty of using the best equipment I have to hand. You should use the best equipment you have to hand as well, but the best equipment might not be as good as my best equipment, and other people certainly have way better equipment than I have. But we're going to do our best. And you're not going to adjust the characters so that they are enhancing the drama, so you're not going to choose father, daughter, whatever based on what enhances the drama the most, but based on the people you know who might be part of it. Do you think your friend that you had that discussion with is bold enough to recreate it with you? Even if it's not the most dramatic thing ever, can you just recreate what you said? Can you go back to that place? I mean, it's a place in reality you had access to before. Can you ask to go back there and do that? Now, this is probably good enough as a starting point. And if it's just 2 people having a conversation in a restaurant, shoot the whole thing in a wide shot, then shoot a close-up of them, then a close-up of you, and cut to the bits that are most interesting. And there you go, that'll probably work. If you want to go further into that, once you've got your script, go through it and think about what is the most interesting thing to be looking at any given point, and think about how one shot is going to flow into the next. You might think, God, I've never done this before and I can't draw. I mean, everyone I know does stick figures. Stick you, stick your friend, there, line for a table, done. That's a storyboard. Then you want to do close up them, close up you, so it's big circle and then a little line to indicate your head, your neck. And that's a close-up. And you might not really understand the narrative flow of one image to another. You might not think you do, but you certainly have experience of this because you've been watching lots of films and so on. You have to develop this from first principles. Ideally, I think that your voice, your authorial touch is going to come through every aspect of what you do. And that's only going to happen if you give it a shot yourself. You create little rectangles and fill them with what you think is the most interesting thing to look at that point. Is it a coffee cup? Is it their face from a strange angle looking up because you feel intimidated by what they said at that point, so you want to look up at them? Create your own language out of this. Give it a go. And then once you've given that a go, give it another go. And then once you think of things that are more interesting to you to do than this exercise as a starting point, do that instead, or start to incorporate little bits of whatever it is that really interests you into that. Are you very particularly interested in the music of a scene? Spend a lot of time creating Spotify playlists out of it? Are you obsessed with the lighting? Set up your phone on a tripod in your home, point different lights that you have around your home at your face in different angles. And since nothing any of us ever make is perfect, then this is just what you'll do forever if it interests you, is just make a thing, optimize it, refine it using these different elements, send it out into the world, ask what people think of it, try and make sense of what that means. They love it, did you do a good job? They hate it, did you do a bad job? Not necessarily. Pick and choose out of that information and do it again. And that's what it is to write, and that's what it is to make films. So I hope you found this interesting, and I hope that if you try it out that it works for you, and if it doesn't, I hope that you figure out what it is that doesn't work about it and then do something else. You have every right to do this, and anyone who does this is an artist in my book. And you won't be great at it at first, but you're also going to enjoy it so much and be so proud of yourself for what a monumental achievement this first thing is that you won't care whether or not it's good or not. And I'm not asking for it to be good either. And if you're anything like me, you'll be so terrible at being objective about your own work, as most artists are, that you'll stop caring about whether or not what you make is good anyway, and just about doing your best job at making it. Like I did with this video. Thanks for watching.